Hey gang, and welcome back. Just a reminder, you can now use the promo code MTGMudsta, all caps, at flipsidegaming.com. You'll get 10% off orders over $10 and help with the channel at the same time. Just like the seasons, we are back. This week we have Matt playing his Temmet deck and keeps a hand with 2 planes, Tranquil Cove, Cyclonic Rift, Swansong, Batterskull, and Scytheclaw. Ben, who's new to the channel, is playing his Karrthus deck and keeps a hand with Elemental Bond, Darksteel Ingot, Lightning Greaves, Blighted Woodlands, Commander Sphere, Smoldering Marsh, and Jund Panorama. I am playing my newly made Rakdos deck, and I keep a hand with 3 Swamps, Dragonskull Summit, Fire Diamond, Lobber Crew, and Kozilek the Great Distortion. And lastly, Sean is playing his Ur-Dragon deck because he loves it and it's a lot of fun, and he keeps a hand with Hollowed Fountain, Watery Grave, Misty Rainforest, Marsh Flats, Gilded Lotus, Mountain, and Stomping Grounds. Matt is hoping to play his deck particularly aggressively tonight, and he starts off with a little bit of aggression towards Sean. Ben then wins the die roll and starts us off. Ben plays Jund Panorama, a fitting land considering his deck, and passes turn. Matt plays Tranquil Cove, gaining 1 life, and passes. Sean plays a Misty Rainforest and passes to me. I play a Swamp and pass. Sean cracks the Misty to find the on-color breeding pool. Ben plays Blighted Woodland and casts Lightning Greaves before passing to Matt. Matt plays a Plains, and Temmet comes out on turn 2. Sean plays a tapped Watery Grave, and passes. I play a Dragonskull Summit, and cast Fire Diamond, which enters the battlefield tapped. Ben plays Game Trail, revealing Smoldering Marsh, and pays 3 to cast Herald's Horn, naming dragons. Matt plays an Island, and in an uncharacteristic move compared to his other games, he swings Temmet at Ben for 2. Sean plays a tapped Stomping Ground, and passes turn. I play a tapped Flamekin Village as I have no elementals in hand, and cast Lobber Crew before passing turn. Ben casts Kadama's Reach, finding a basic for the field, and 1 to his hand before passing. Matt plays another Plains and drops Reefworm. Moving to combat, Temmet hits Ben once more for 2. Sean plays a Mountain and casts Perforos, which isn't great for the table since Sean plays so many token generators. I play a Foreboding Ruins and reveal a Swamp before passing. Ben plays a Forest and casts Commander Sphere, which he then uses to help cast Darksteel Ingot and passes turn. Matt plays a Glacial Fortress and Batterskull makes an entrance. Moving to combat, Temmet once again manages to find its way at Ben. Sean plays a Swamp and casts a Gilded Lotus. He then taps Lotus for 3 green to cast Nissa, Voice of Zendikar. He upticks his Walker to make a plant, and all of Sean's opponents take 2. And at the end of Sean's turn, I tap my Lobber Crew to deal 1 to all of my opponents. I play a Swamp for my turn, and immediately tap the crew to deal 1 to each opponent. I then cast Rakdos and untap the crew, then pay 1 red to give Rakdos haste with the Flamekin Village. I then swing Rakdos at Sean, and in my second main phase I retap the Lobber Crew, thinking I now can cast Kozilek the Great Distortion for free. I'm immediately corrected by Sean, and with very real evidence that I don't know how to play Magic, I am super salty and I pass to Ben. Ben casts Soul Ring before casting Kakusho, and equips the Kamigawa Dragon with the Greaves. Ben then swings Kakusho at me before passing to Matt. Matt plays a Plains and drops a Sublime Archangel, which grants all of his creatures Exalted. Matt moves to combat and puts the Temmet trigger on his Germ. He then swings it at Ben, dealing 9 and gaining 9 thanks to the Exalted triggers. For Sean's turn, things start to go a bit crazy, and he casts Prosh, Sky Raider of Care, a card near and dear to my heart, and gets 6 kobolds on cast. We shortcut and just take the full 14 at once though. Sean then plays a tapped Hollowed Fountain, and upticks Nissa, dealing another 2 damage thanks to Perforos. I play a Swamp for turn and cast Night Whispers, taking 2 and drawing 2. I then cast Toxic Deluge for 1 to wipe out Sean's army. Sean chooses to sacrifice the tokens to Prosh to make me not want to attack him with Rakdos, and I pass turn. Ben casts Hedron Archive in his main phase and pays 2 to sacrifice it and draw 2 cards. Moving to combat, Ben swings at Sean hoping he'll block, but Sean doesn't want Ben to gain the life and just takes it. For Matt's turn, he puts the Temmet trigger once more in the Batterskull Germ and swings at Sean for another 9, gaining 9. During Matt's second main phase, he uses Path to Exile to get rid of Prosh, and Sean goes and grabs a forest. Sean plays a Scrubland and casts Thunderbreak Regent, dealing 2 to his opponents. Sean then casts Rishkar's Expertise, and Matt counters it with a Swansong. This prevents Sean from drawing, and has the added benefit of killing Ben. Sean then upticks Nissa, making another token, and dealing 2 to Matt and I. At the end of Sean's turn, I tap the Lobber Crew to deal 1 to Sean and Matt. I play a High Market for my turn, and tap the Lobber Crew to deal another 1 damage to my opponents. This lets me cast Bane of Balaged for 2 less, and I give it haste with the Flamekin Village. Moving to combat, I swing everything at Matt, and Matt exiles Temmet and the Reform token. He then takes the full 13, and I pass turn. Matt plays Temple of the False God, and recasts his commander. Moving to combat, he puts the Temmet trigger on his Germ token, and swings at me for exactly lethal. Thankfully, I still have High Market untapped, and I sacrifice the Eldrazi to keep me from dying. Matt then gains some life, and essentially negates my last swing at him before passing to Sean. Sean untaps and draws for turn, and decides that he needs me around to help deal with Matt. This means instead of going for an easy kill by making a token and killing me with Perforos, Sean uses Nissa's minus ability to give all of his creatures a +1/+1 counter. He then activates Perforos' second and some might say unnecessary ability 3 times, pumping all of his creatures by +3/+0, and swings everything at Matt for 18. Matt jumps the Regent with his Angel, and Matt takes 10. Sean then plays a Temple Garden tapped, and passes turn. I play Eye of Ugin for my turn, and I'm still upset that I can't find a second colorless source from a permanent. I then activate the Eye to go and find Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger, and move to combat, swinging Rakdos at Sean for 6. In my second main phase, I tap the Lobber Crew to deal 1 to Sean and Matt, and proceed to cast Ulamog using his on-cast trigger to exile Perforos and the Batterskull. Matt however is ready for this, and pays the cost to bounce Batterskull back to his hand. I then leave my fate up to Matt, and pass turn. Matt untaps for his turn and draws, and isn't too sure how to proceed. Moving to combat, he swings Temmet at Sean and passes with 7 mana open. Sean plays a Marsh Flats, cracking it and taking 1 to go find Savannah. As he's searching, I mention how I drew Phyrexian Arena early on, and am currently very glad I didn't cast it. Sean then uses Nisa's minus ability once more to pump all of his creatures, and swings everything at Matt. Matt, as expected, has the Cyclonic Rift ready. During Sean's second main phase, he recasts the Regent, followed by Nissa, and drops a Conspiracy naming dragons. He then upticks Nissa to make a Plant Dragon, and passes. I draw my second colorless source finally, but with a hand greater than 7, casting Kozilek wouldn't net me any cards. I then play Lavaclaw Reaches as my land for turn, and I cast Fire Diamond, followed by Talisman of Indulgence, Felwar Stone, and finish off with the Lobber Crew before passing my turn. For Matt's turn, he recasts Old Faithful, aka Batterskull during his first main phase, and passes turn. Sean casts the Ur-Dragon during his first main phase, but Matt puts a stop to it before it can even get started with an Arcane Denial. Sean then moves to cast Anointed Procession, and downticks Nissa to give his creatures another +1/+1 counter. Sean starts to examine his opponents, but he's basically in a tough spot, and he decides to swing only the Regent at Matt. Matt and Sean draw on my upkeep, and I draw Kolgan's Command for my turn, which is a pretty fantastic card considering the board state. I then tap the crew to deal 1 to my opponents, and recast Rakdos. The Lobber Crew untaps, and I retap it dealing another 1 to each opponent. I then finally cast Kozilek the Great Distortion, and draw until I get 7. With nothing else, I pass turn. Matt draws for turn and casts Trading Post. Having no 4-drop, I have no choice but to let it resolve. Since I can't risk Matt's Germ coming at me with Unblockable, when he moves to combat and puts the Temmet trigger on the stack targeting his Germ, I use Kolgan's Command to destroy the artifact and deal 2 damage to Sean, killing him. With his Batterskull dying and his Germ dying as a result, Matt then drops Basilisk Collar in his second main phase and discards a card to gain some life with the Trading Post. I play Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth for my land for turn, and with lethal on the field, I swing at Matt. Matt deals with a Kozilek by casting Reality Shift, and takes the hit from Rakdos. In my second main phase, I cast Steel Hellkite and pass to Matt. Matt draws for turn, but not a card that can help him out. Realizing he's going to die to my next swing, and can't gain enough life to live through it, Matt decides to scoop it up, and we move to the next game. Game review time. So, I'm pretty sure people are wondering why Matt was so aggressively targeting Ben early on, and unfortunately it's because a game earlier, Ben had made some really poor threat assessment, and basically taking Matt out of the game for 0 reason and then lost the game as a result. I know people say not to bring grudges from other games into the current one, but sometimes it happens, and this is just an example of it. The silver lining of it was, though, that Matt actually did attack with Temmet, which is something he never does, so that kind of made me happy. Not to criticize Ben too much, but the turn before he died, there was a play that he could have done to live through the turn. My action plan was cast Karrthus, steal Prosh, swing with all the dragons at Sean or Matt, and then use Prosh to sacrifice Kakusho, gaining 15 life. It's hard to really justify how I was able to win this game other than the fact that people don't consider 1 life to be much of a threat. Don't get me wrong, I'm happy that I won, but it could have gone very differently had I been taken out earlier on, I think. I also left the part in with the Kozilek because it was kind of embarrassing, but it is relevant. If you haven't figured it out, Rakdos is actually not able to reduce the 2 colorless mana symbols in Kozilek's cost, so I couldn't cheat him out for 0. On the scale of things, this is a pretty minor misplay, and Sean is very quick to point that out, so I'm thankful for it and use it as a learning experience for both myself and hopefully for the viewers. Batterskull is such a good card in Matt's Temmet deck. Matt's deck can struggle without any kind of token that he can put the Temmet's unblockable trigger on it, so for living weapons to come into play with a token on them is fantastic, and if that living weapon itself has a way to balance it back to his hand, even better. I'm not too sure what else I can say about Sean's Ur-Dragon deck that I haven't said before, other than the fact that tokens hurt, especially with Perforos out, and dragons are cool. Please be sure to tune in every Monday and Thursday at 11 AM Eastern Standard Time for a guaranteed new video. You can also find me on Twitter at MTGMudsta, at Facebook at facebook.com/MTGMudsta, or on Twitch at twitch.tv/MTGMudsta. This video is brought to you in part by support from my Patreons. If you're looking for a way to help out the channel, please be sure to visit the link below or in the About section. As always, thank you guys for watching, and please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more.